So we just had a big interview come out for NASCAR 25 from Mike Straw at Insider Gaming with iRacing, and we've got some big news to talk about today about the game that just came out, and we're just going to jump straight into it.
By the end of June, the team would have locked down a release date. That was the plan for late September, early October. Has that been locked down, and is there anything you can give on when fans can get the game, pre-order the game, and be ready?
I wish when we were talking about doing this interview, we waited one more week, because I know I said end of June. Here's what I'll say. We do have our slotting for our submission, and the official launch date will be coming very soon. I will refrain from giving an exact timing on that, but I literally, it's around the corner and nothing has changed. We're still in the exact same window that I said on the AMA.
I wanted you guys to hear that one right away. It actually came a little bit later in the interview, but I mean, basically confirmed there's about a 3-week window that they're working in for the release date of this game, and we're just awaiting confirmation. And it sounds like we're going to get it like really soon, which is great to hear. So looking like that late September, early October window, which is standard for NASCAR games of the past, I don't know how many years now, all through the NASCAR Heat Series. NASCAR 21, of course, we know we don't really count that, but we know that that's kind of the expected window for NASCAR games, so nothing out of the ordinary. Also, the game has been officially confirmed that it is built on the Unreal Engine, which was speculation, and now we've got official confirmation of that. Also, moving on, they talked about just balancing between, of course, you have the iRacing influence, but we're building a console game, so what's the balance like for the racing purists that might want kind of more of a simulation aspect versus an average console player that just wants your casual experience?
Because coming from iRacing to the console game, it's going to be a different experience. How does the team balance the realism for, say, NASCAR purists, racing purists, those coming from iRacing, while also still being fun and accessible for the casual racing player or newcomers, and like, what's that process like to really hone that in?
Yeah, I think it's important that we continue to say up front, we're not trying to make iRacing on a console. That is not what we're attempting to do, and I think that's coming across to your exact point here. But the beauty and the magic is really in the level of adjustability of both just pure AI settings, but also in the driving model itself. And so it is a super fun experience, whether you've got every single assist at 100% or all of them at 0. Now, it's tough. It's challenging. Like we saw it with drivers last week. When you turn everything off, it is a very, very challenging experience. And we're going to have wheel support. We're going to have all of the typical levels of support for wheels and pedals and all that stuff as well. But it's a balance. And,
yeah.
I think one of the things that we've done really well over the years is the level of adjustability within the game itself. The ability to adjust the AI on 10 different parameters, not just, typically in games of the past, some of those old EA games and things like that, it was like, well, do you want easy, medium, or hard, right? And that was it. But now you've got entire pages of settings where you can really go in and fine tune all the difficulty stuff. And so if you take the time and you really go in there and you really customize your experience, you can have the best time of your life.
We're going to dive into now more of the career mode and AI aspect of the Q&A, and we're going to kick things off with Mike Straw's question about AI, tendencies, behavior, ratings as well. It's a pretty lengthy answer, and I'll dive into it as well because I've got some opinions on it. So I'll let you guys hear the full question and answer of this one.
That leads right into the next question, AI, because most people are going to be spending time playing solo against the computer. It's a different experience from the iRacing environment. You mentioned, all of these settings. How important was that to have the team make sure that AI racing offers that customizable experience that you can make it as fun, as easy, as difficult as you want.
Yeah, it's something, like I said, that I don't think has gotten enough maybe notice in the past of how many options there are and how many individual knobs there are to go in and tweak that stuff. Listen, the AI in general in this game is super, super important because we see it in the data. You know, it's 70-ish% of the game sessions that we run in our game are career mode.
Yeah.
It's not multiplayer, it's not quick race, it's not all these other things. It's literally people playing career. They want that start in your backyard in the ARCA team and move up to trucks and move up to Xfinity and move up to Cup, and that's the experience that they love. And the biggest part to pay all of that off is not just you stepping through the series, but also the competition that you're getting and the rivalries that you form and the, you know, all of those pieces. And so it's a incredibly important detail for us to get the AI right. One of the things we're super excited about that we haven't talked a lot about is Racing Insights. And so if you don't know what Racing Insights is, they are the sort of behind the scenes feed for the TV broadcasts. And so when you hear, you know, some announcer in a booth say something super smart about something that happened 4 years ago, it's likely coming from Racing Insights, and they're kind of pulling all that data. Our driver ratings will be based on real world Racing Insights data. So we're about to do another drop here soon, right before we submit, but that data will then dictate how good is, you know, Ryan Blaney at Charlotte versus how good is William Byron at Martinsville, and it's pulling from their actual results. So again, it's just one more thing about authenticity, right? Tying back to iRacing, you'll see Kyle Larson running the high line more than others will. You'll see tendencies, you'll see all of that stuff.
Will that
get that personality?
Will that change per track? Because you mentioned like how Byron is at Martinsville. Like the AI version of William Byron race differently at Martinsville than he would say at Sonoma.
100%.
So what we got right there was pretty interesting, because I think about NASCAR Heat 5 driver ratings and stuff, and you know, you had a driver, they categorized how good a driver was based on track type. So you had a rating for mile and a half, you had a rating for short track, super speedway, and road course, 4 different track types, and they were going to perform to that level at, say, they're going to perform to the same level at a Kansas and a Charlotte and a Vegas, but it sounds like, at least from the answer we got here, that it's not necessarily track type, it's each individual track that they're going to perform maybe a little bit better at than they would at a different one, of course. So you might see William Byron run way better at a Charlotte than he would at a Kansas, for example, instead of being categorized into the same rating for just each mile and a half. And of course, the ratings will differ on all over the place. And as well, we got to hear about some tendencies. An example of that was, you're gonna likely see Kyle Larson run the high line way more than anybody else. I don't know if that's a good thing yet, because I think back to NASCAR Heat Series, they had this in the game as well, where the AI you would see Kyle Larson's AI run the outside line far more, but it was actually a disadvantage because the outside lane would be slower, and he would run the high line at tracks where it didn't make sense to run the high line, but even at the mile and a half where it does make sense, most of the time it was still slower to run the high line. So I hope that when they say they've done this, they at least have proper momentum building if you're going to run the outside as an AI, because you should not be able to take the dominant outside lane where you should be getting the momentum, but you're actually at a disadvantage, and I myself as a player can just go to the inside and pass them without much of a fight. So that does concern me a little bit, to be honest, just based off of prior experience with the NASCAR Heat Series. Could be completely proven wrong, I hope I am, but as well, would love to see, you know, other tendencies of, like, you know, Ross Chastain or a Joey Logano. They're really difficult to pass. You know, I want Carson Hocevar to be a bowling ball and wrecking half the field when he's coming through the grid, including myself, so then I can have an excuse to hook him into the wall, for example. So those kind of real life tendencies, I don't know if we'll quite get those. Now we're diving more into the career mode, and one of the first questions Mike had was mainly about Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s involvement in the career mode. We know it's been really big. Of course, he is an employee of iRacing. Of course, it makes sense that he's going to be heavily involved in this game. And as well, we got a little bit of a sneak peek. They're kind of hiding a little bit. They don't really want to tell us about this huge feature that we've got coming in the career mode.
There's a huge feature that I literally cannot wait to show people, and we haven't shown anything. We haven't even shown a screenshot of it, but there's him in the Dirty Mo studio doing his podcast, and he's talking about you. He's talking about the player and some big things that may be happening to you, or some challenges that you're going through, or whatever. But it's this like real sensory experience where it's like, oh my gosh,
he's telling your story, basically.
Yeah, I'm halfway through my, rise from trucks to Xfinity, and Junior's on here talking about me and something that just happened. Like, and we got all of that done with him and TJ in the Dirty Mo booth. And anyway, it's been far beyond what I expected, far beyond what I would have ever thought we could get, and it's really going to pay off for fans.
I'm curious to see where this is going, because I feel like I just want to note they're hiding. They're not wanting to talk about it yet, because when they describe it as it is, it doesn't really come off as a huge feature to me. It kind of comes off as a cutscene that you can take or leave, but I mean, it's still going to be cool regardless. But we know that they've been really hyping up the presentation of the career mode. It was also mentioned during the interview towards the tail end that the career mode in this game, it feels a lot more story mode like, so maybe we're getting a kind of experience that you get in the NBA 2K series. So interesting to kind of hear those words in an exciting way, because I think it's important to build a story in career mode, and it seems like, of course, that's exactly what iRacing is intending to do here, which is great.
How accurate, though, to what you see on race day will the game be for all the series? We're talking from stages to the choose cone to maybe tire sets, things like that.
Yep. So the big thing that we obviously try to focus on is what I was saying earlier about having everything from the driver's perspective. So if you look back at again, older games, they did this weird thing where it was like, it's kind of TV when you first came in, looked like Fox and NBC, and then all of a sudden they dropped the green flag and now you're sitting in the car.
Yeah.
For us, in the pre-race sequences, even before qualifying, as you're sitting, getting ready to go out to practice, like, it's all driver's perspective. You're sitting in the car in the garage stall. They push you out when you go out to practice. Then you're sitting on pit road, waiting for the official to wave you forward to take your lap in qualifying. Then even the pre-race stuff, like we have some flyovers and the typical stuff you would expect on race day, but it's like, you can see it's like the driver's looking up at them while he's standing by his car. It's not this like pulled out kind of more TV aspect. But in terms of the rules package, everything you would expect, right? The stages all work correctly. Everything's broken down in the real world the same way it is. We don't have multiple tire sets. That's something that we've talked about for future years. And one of the things that I think is really important is to build that 3 and 5 year plan, right? Yeah. And as we started this project, it kind of goes back to what you were asking earlier about what's different, right? I think a lot of games struggle with building that 3 and 5 year plan, right? And what we did was take a step back and say, it's year one is really about getting the foundational elements correct.
So throughout that answer, I mean, we found out that there's not really going to be a multiple tire set limit, which is an iRacing thing. I don't really find this to be a big deal. Of course, Mike Straw asked Matt about choose cone. We didn't really get an answer on that, but as well, you did notice Matt said we really focused on the core elements for year one. that more or less tells me things like the choose cone are probably not going to be in the game. That's not really a core thing you're going to really think about doing and getting right in the first year of the game. Matt also mentioned that, you know, every car is going to feel different in this game. The Cup car is not going to feel the same as an Xfinity car. It's not going to feel the same as a truck or an ARCA car. So everything's going to be authentic to its own series. So, you know, if you're good maybe in the ARCA car, you might suck in the truck, but then who knows, you might be, you know, good in the Cup car and you can suck in the Xfinity car. It's like for me in iRacing, for example, I mean, I am really good in the next gen car, and you put me in the Xfinity car, I'm terrible. You know, I can go and run top 5 in a Cup car, and I struggle to run top 10 in an Xfinity car. Matt Lewis was adamant that the controller is going to feel pretty well just in line with a wheel and pedals in this game. Now, I'm hesitant because I've heard this before in racing games, and it turns out the controller is way harder to play on. But, you know, I mean, the only way to find out is to get the controller in our own hands. So we're really going to have to wait and just kind of take his word now for it until the time comes where we can play it ourselves.
Our AI is some of the best in the business.
I hope he's not talking about iRacing AI, because the oval AI on iRacing are by far the worst AI oval racing I've ever experienced, at least next to NASCAR Ignition, which was of course worse than anything else. But iRacing's oval AI has been terrible now for a couple years. The road course racing AI, total different situation. It's fantastic, but maybe he's talking about, hey, we got the AI great for NASCAR 25, and that's what they're hyping up.
What type of accessibility options will there be for players?
Yeah, so there's 3 levels of assists total. But then you can, there's 3 types of assists, and then there's infinite levels because you can actually customize it and slide the slider 0 to 100 on each. We have presets where you can go in and just pick the presets to kind of give a baseline of where you need to be, but highly customizable, anything from helping you brake, helping you steer, to traction control, and sort of getting off the turns and things like that. So all of that getting done first. So, you know, my suggestion to everybody is always go to your favorite track, run some practice laps, get all that stuff correct first, and then go in and start changing the AI to match the type of experience you want to have. Because some people want the challenge too, right? And we love that as well. Like, some people want to go into career mode and not win right out the gate and struggle and start finishing in the 30s and then get to the 20s and the 10s and take a longer journey, let's call it, through career mode.
And you heard about the assist in the game and accessibility options, and it sounds like we've got quite a wide variety of options that we can kind of tweak and tune, which is great as well. One thing that was confirmed, no manual driving in the pit lane like you would see in iRacing. It's something that might come in the future, but it just wasn't a priority for year one, and they continue to emphasize this whole 3 to 5 year plan for this game. And it kind of falls in line. Manual pit road driving, of course, I wouldn't expect to be a priority for year one.
Will this be a case where you can replace drivers for your teams, hire drivers, like whether they're AI generated drivers or real drivers, and where you see maybe AI drivers in your career change teams? I'm assuming that's not possible because of sponsorships. Like, that's just my assumption with how that works. I know how sponsors can be. But will you be able to sign replace drivers as your team grows?
Not for year one. So again, that's on the horizon for sure. We all know that that's a big part of it. It's a lot of those EA games had the notion of a silly season and things like that moving around. You do have employees that you can hire, and you do have the notion of some VIP employees that can make things more efficient and speed things up and do things for less money. And there's a definite the key to those features really is a risk reward type system, right? And so that element of risk reward still exists. It just functions for year one a little different in how you're putting employees and hiring employees that are more efficient in certain areas.
So it's not a case of, say I have my team and I want to hire, Kyle Busch away. I can't you're not going to be able to do that. And again, my mind goes to, well, sponsorships.
We got the bit of career mode news that I really didn't want to hear right there. And as well, again, there's still no confirmation if we can drive for a real team, but the writing is on the wall. In my opinion, this beautiful wall right here, it says, you cannot drive for a real team. Yeah, it says that, I swear. It really does look like we have to build our own team up no matter what, which sucks to me. I'm sure some people like that, but I think there should be an option for both. You know, real team, your own team. It's quite frustrating that it does seem like we're forced to our own team. On top of that, you can't hire drivers for your own team, so it means you're stuck to a one-car team no matter what. You're not going to be able to expand. You're not going to be able to hire anybody to drive for your cars. As well, on top of that, they did confirm no silly season in this game, so that's another thing that is going to be a drawback. For example, you're going to see me go from ARCA all the way to Cup, and you're just going to watch these guys in ARCA that I started with, these guys in trucks, these guys in Xfinity that I'm just going to pass through, and they're not going to move up in advance. So we're going to be not seeing Connor Zilish or Jesse Love or Truck Series Corey Heim ever advance their careers, which is, in my opinion, a huge loss to the career mode. And I think that when they talked about, focusing on the core, this should have been something that was in the core for this game, because that's what makes career modes fun for people to play. Now, of course, if you're playing on PC like I will be, I mean, you're just praying that we can mod the game to create those things that we want to have happen. But of course, we don't know what the modability aspect of this game is going to be yet.
The last question I have on career mode, you brought up R&D. How detailed is R&D? How is it a case of it can be as detailed as the max you offer, or if you don't want to do much, you don't have to do any?
Yep. I don't want to give away too much, because we're definitely going to do deeper dives on career mode as we get closer to launch. But
of course,
in general, I would say there are mechanisms in place to let you get as deep or as surface level as you want, right? We certainly don't want to force somebody to go in there and, R&D all their parts and worry about, timing and balancing with chassis and all that stuff. So if you want to just kind of more quickly set things up and keep moving, and you really want to focus on the racing, you can do that. But if you're the opposite and you really do want to get into the nitty gritty, we allow that as well. And so there'll be a lot more information on that soon.
I like hearing that. R&D, it sounds like you can kind of have two options, where you can kind of take a scaled back approach to the R&D, a more simplistic approach, or you can have a full scale, full immersed R&D approach about really building up your cars, your chassis, your different parts of the car, maybe suspension. Curious to see how that would work when you get to the Cup Series, however, because everybody gets the same parts pretty well. So I feel like that would not make a whole lot of sense to have a fully fledged R&D system when you get to Cup, but I also wouldn't be against it, because it just makes the game more fun. Didn't mention though if other teams are going to develop. My guess is no, because we continue to hear this whole core year one priority stuff. I would be shocked if the teams can develop to get better. So, Rick Ware might always continue to struggle throughout the career mode. You're never going to really see them progress. It's another thing I lean back to, always hoping that we can mod the game to change stuff like that and create this kind of team progression, because that is an important thing to have in a NASCAR game, because teams improve, teams get worse. It's kind of always changing, especially with how close the next gen car is. And of course, I think the R&D though will be really cool in the lower series, from ARCA to Trucks to Xfinity as well.
Paint booth. Will the game offer some sort of paint booth for players, and will they be even able to maybe share their designs online? I know that's a tricky situation with not safe for work type of stuff that we've run into issues with in other games, but will there be at least the ability to fully customize your car?
Yeah, so 100% paint kit. Again, I would say, similar to what NASCAR games have done in the past, but better, right? There's back to your question of NASCAR and partners, and we've spent a lot of time with agreements and trying to get all the partners, all the big partners of the race teams and NASCAR themselves, and include as many different brands as we can for people to be able to use in the car creators and things like that. So excited. We're going to do as I would imagine, another deep dive on that as we get closer to kind of show things off.
You heard it right at the end there. There's a deep dive coming to kind of talk more about the paint booth and the customization options. There was one little kind of tidbit and one thing that was left out that I was hoping that would be answered. The one thing I wanted to hear that would be answered is, can we share paint schemes? You know, if I make a paint scheme, can I upload this to, something in the game where people can access it and download it and race it themselves, kind of like iRacing has trading paints? Was not really much talk there. And as well, Mike Straw asked, well, he works for Insider Gaming in this instance. Can he put an Insider Gaming logo on the car? And of course, Matt mentioned that, well, you can, but you have to do it by using the shapes in the game. So there's definitely going to be, okay, you can do some cool stuff. It's just going to be really hard and limited. And you're going to have to get creative with the shapes, which we've seen people in the NASCAR 15 paint booth way back in the day do incredible things with just shapes in the game. But obviously, unfortunately, they're limiting you to have to be really talented to be able to pull that off, which that was a little bit disappointing. Not surprising by any means. I mean, giving people the ability in officially licensed NASCAR game to just say upload whatever logos they want into a paint booth, that is a very dangerous line and path that could go into. So I understand it, but I wish that maybe they could find a way to make that happen in the future, but have proper tools to be able to make sure that nothing bad is getting put in the game. So it seems like as well we're gonna have a lot of customization. We heard in a previous Q&A that you can customize, from the sounds of it, the pit boxes, your fire suits, of course, and even the haulers, the big semi trucks that transport the cars. So it really does seem like we're getting a full-fledged customization system that goes just beyond the race car, which is not something we ever, in my experience of playing NASCAR games, have had the ability to do. So that's really exciting. Next, we're going to talk about one point they mentioned about how the multiplayer is going to work. It was confirmed no local multiplayer in this game, so no split screen racing. You can't just have a buddy come over and play with you, unfortunately, in this first iteration of this new era for NASCAR gaming. But they did talk about some kind of in-game multiplayer, like tournaments here and there and special events and stuff, and I'll just let you guys listen because it was pretty cool.
How will that multiplayer experience work? Will there be local multiplayer? Will there be private lobbies for leagues, spectator features? Like, what can the online experience, people who are into that, expect?
Yeah, so we made the tough decision to cut local multiplayer, so that's not a thing in this game. But on the multiplayer side, it will have private lobbies. We're going to do some special events where, if you imagine, certain nights have sort of special events at a given track where there's kind of a tournament structure, things like that. But all of the sort of standard things you would expect in the multiplayer system.
Will people be able to run, for people who run leagues and like esports, will they be able to go in and have a broadcast view type of thing, like a spectator view?
Not year one. Again, it's on our list, right? I would put that in the future features bucket, where we need to get the core right for year one and then really figure out how we expand. I know there's a lot of leagues. I know there's a lot of passion for just generally league tools, right? And administrator tools and things like that. And it's something that we have on all of our whiteboards and have some designs for, but not for year one.
I add the end of that comment right there to the board of disappointment of lack of features in this game. So we already got confirmed a while back there's no crossplay in this game. That's issue. I mean, I talked about how that should be a priority. We keep hearing about the core of this game for year one, which, I mean, of course we fully understand, but this is another thing that should have been core for year one, is we don't have any league tools or anything coming for NASCAR 25. That is super frustrating. It's going to make, league racing a lot harder. And now it seems like it's still going to be very possible. You're just going to have the proper people kind of running things and structure and have to take care of points and all that kind of stuff. It's not the end of the world, but it's certainly frustrating that that's not going to be in the first year and iteration of this new era for NASCAR gaming. that was pretty well all the important bits and pieces from this interview. A video is going to be a bit longer than I thought it was going to be, but I hope you guys enjoyed hearing a bit of my insight, and of course the insight from Mike Straw with the questions he asked to Matt Lewis there at iRacing. And I will link in the description the full interview so you can watch that, because there was of course more they talked about with some hardware and working with the Unreal Engine and stuff like that, and a few things that I just didn't include because it didn't really add to, you know, telling us about, you know, features of the game and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see where we're going, and they really emphasize just, you know, year one we focus on priorities and getting the core right, which means there's quite a few things that you want from a racing game that aren't going to be there. I mean just from this interview, what I take away is I expect a game that's going to perform well in the core. You're going to have a great experience with AI, and that's really all I ask for all the time, is a great experience with AI. But there's going to be things that are missing that I think are going to, you know, not keep people around for a long time. You know, they're gonna have to be quickly working on getting some of these core features that we thought would be core for year one that aren't, and really get them ready for, you know, the next game, and get them rolling pretty quick to kind of keep people coming. Maybe even in an update or something that comes out, who knows, around like Daytona 500 time. But interesting interview. Huge shout out to Mike Straw. He's fantastic at what he does, and he had a great interview right there with Matt. So that's gonna do it for me. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Have yourselves a great day.